It was an ordinary morning in the small town of Maplewood when the stranger arrived. The sun peeked over the rooftops, casting a warm glow on the cobblestone streets. But then, a hush fell over the square as a figure cloaked in dark clothing appeared at the edge of town. Their face was hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat, and they carried an old leather bag that seemed to bulge with secrets. Curiosity stirred among the townsfolk. "Who is that?" whispered Mrs. Patterson, clutching her shopping basket tightly. Mr. Thompson, who rarely showed interest in anything beyond his garden, squinted toward the newcomer with suspicion. Children stopped playing, their laughter fading as they exchanged wide-eyed glances. The stranger paused, scanning the townspeople with a slow gaze that sent shivers down many spines. Some felt drawn to approach, while others instinctively took a step back. An unspoken tension filled the air as the mysterious figure started to walk toward the heart of Maplewood. What could this stranger want? As questions loomed, unease settled thickly like fog. The stage was set for what would soon become a whirlwind of unexpected events. As the stranger moved closer to the center of town, whispers rippled through the crowd like a breeze rustling the leaves. Some residents leaned in, eyes sparkling with curiosity, eager to catch a glimpse of what secrets the newcomer might hold. "Maybe they have stories from far away," exclaimed young Tommy, his imagination running wild. But not everyone shared Tommy's excitement. A few older townsfolk exchanged worried glances, their brows furrowed with concern. "We don't know anything about them," Mrs. Carter warned, her voice shaky. "What if they're here to cause trouble?" The fear in her tone was contagious, spreading through the crowd like wildfire. A small group began to form around the stranger, half drawn by intrigue and half by apprehension. Some stepped forward cautiously, while others took a step back, clutching their belongings tighter as if ready for anything. The atmosphere crackled with tension as mixed emotions swirled. Fascination mingled with suspicion. The stranger seemed unfazed by the conflicting reactions, continuing to scan faces as though searching for someone or something. A sense of purpose hidden beneath that shadowy exterior. As days passed following the stranger's arrival, odd events began to shake the quiet routine of Maplewood. Early one morning, Mrs. Patterson discovered that her prized garden gnome had vanished without a trace. While she searched frantically, others noted similar peculiarities. Mr. Thompson found his favorite tools missing from the shed, and a few children reported hearing strange noises echoing through the night. In the evenings, whispers filled the air as families gathered on porches, recounting their eerie experiences. "I swear I heard footsteps outside my window," claimed young Lucy, eyes wide with disbelief. The townsfolk were left unsettled, glancing suspiciously at one another and, more pointedly, at the stranger who still roamed the streets. The air thickened with tension as late-night sounds became more frequent. A hollow thud here, a rustle there, enough to rattle even the bravest heart in Maplewood. Many wondered, was there a connection between these strange happenings and the newcomer? Fear gripped the town tighter. Something unseen seemed to be lurking in the shadows, drawing out their deepest anxieties and stirring their imaginations into overdrive. As the days turned into weeks, whispers transformed into full-fledged rumors. Town gatherings buzzed with fear and speculation about the stranger's true purpose in Maplewood. "I heard they're here to steal our secrets," claimed Mrs. Carter, her voice trembling, while Mr. Thompson insisted he knew someone who once encountered a similar figure in another town, one that had faced unfortunate events afterward. Children huddled together at school, daring each other to approach the stranger but ultimately retreating, hearts racing from stories of shadowy figures and hidden magic. Meanwhile, an uneasy pattern started to emerge. As rumors spread, more items went missing. Flowers from gardens and even lunch pails forgotten on porches. The once tight-knit community now found itself divided, with some wanting to confront the stranger and others insisting on their departure. Fear gripped many as nightly noises grew more frequent and strange sightings were reported by the town's bravest explorers. The feeling of being watched filled the air thick with tension and paranoia. What motives lay behind that bulging leather bag? With each rumor, anxiety escalated, spiraling the townsfolk deeper into uncertainty about the enigmatic newcomer among them. The growing anxiety in Maplewood led Mayor Jenkins to call an emergency town meeting. As the townsfolk gathered in the community hall, a palpable tension filled the air. Chairs creaked under the weight of restless bodies as residents exchanged nervous glances, unsure of what to expect. Mayor Jenkins stood at the front, trying to maintain order amidst the chatter. "We need to come together as a community," he began, but his voice struggled to cut through the rising din. "Let's discuss our concerns about the stranger." Mrs. Carter was the first to speak up, her voice shaking with urgency. "That newcomer is behind all these strange happenings. We can't ignore it." A murmur of agreement rippled through some members, while others voiced their opposition. "What if they are just misunderstood?" Tommy's father argued, advocating for a more compassionate approach. As voices clashed and tempers flared, fear transformed into frustration. Some were ready to take action, while others urged patience. The discussion spiraled into chaos, revealing deep divisions within the community that had once stood united. A reflection of how fear can fracture even the closest of bonds. Just as the tensions from the town meeting began to settle, a shocking event unfolded that sent ripples of panic throughout Maplewood. Mrs. Thompson's beloved cat, Whiskers, disappeared without a trace. Whiskers was known by everyone in town. His playful antics brought smiles to many faces. The news spread like wildfire, igniting fear and suspicion once again. Children searched high and low, calling out for Whiskers while parents gathered in worried clusters, exchanging anxious glances. "It has to be that stranger," cried Mrs. Carter, her voice filled with panic. "First missing items and now a pet. We can't ignore this any longer." The accusation hung heavily in the air as the townsfolk's paranoia intensified. Some residents proposed forming a search party to confront the stranger directly, while others urged caution, arguing that they needed proof before casting blame. Yet with each whisper, the stranger's presence loomed larger in their minds as the cause of all their troubles. As night fell, uncertainty thickened like fog around Maplewood. Fear took hold yet again. What if Whiskers was just the beginning? The townsfolk felt trapped in a web of anxiety and mistrust that seemed to tighten with every passing hour. Determined to uncover the truth, a small group of brave townsfolk gathered under the cover of darkness, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and resolve. Led by Tommy's father, they decided to follow the stranger, hoping to witness firsthand what secrets lay behind that bulging leather bag. "We have to see for ourselves," he urged, glancing around at the anxious faces of his companions. As they crept through the quiet streets, shadows danced beneath the flickering streetlights. The stranger moved with purpose, seemingly unaware of their pursuit. The group whispered among themselves, excitement and anxiety bubbling in their throats. "What if we find something terrible?" One woman voiced her worry, but another quickly chimed in, "Or what if we discover they're innocent?" They trailed the stranger to a secluded area at the edge of town where overgrown bushes hid a worn path. As they watched from a distance, the figure stopped and knelt down beside an old tree. Hearts raced as they strained to hear what was happening. Was this the moment they would finally uncover the truth? With bated breath, they waited for the next revelation that could change everything for Maplewood. As the townsfolk watched from their hiding spot, they strained to hear the stranger's murmurs. To their surprise, the figure began to speak softly to an old tree, revealing a hidden hollow at its base. With trembling hands, the stranger reached into the bulging leather bag and pulled out a bundle of aged papers. The group exchanged wide-eyed glances. This was a moment they had not expected. Intrigued yet cautious, they leaned in closer, trying to catch snippets of the conversation. The stranger was documenting something about the town, its history, its people, and lost treasures that once belonged to Maplewood's founders. "I'm here to preserve your legacy," the stranger said earnestly. "These items belong in a museum where everyone can appreciate them." As they listened, the townsfolk felt their uncertainty begin to shift. Instead of being a harbinger of misfortune, the stranger might be a guardian of their past. Realization dawned upon them. Perhaps all those missing items were part of a larger story meant to be shared rather than feared. Their perception began to change as they contemplated what it meant for their community, and what secrets lay hidden beneath their feet. The following day, fueled by a mix of curiosity and lingering suspicion, the townsfolk decided it was time to confront the stranger. A small crowd gathered in the town square, eyes darting nervously toward the tree where they had seen the stranger the night before. Mayor Jenkins stood at the front, hands raised for calm, but the murmur of anxious voices grew louder. "Why are you really here?" shouted Mrs. Carter, unable to hold back her fear any longer. "You've taken our things. We won't let you turn Maplewood into your playground." The stranger stepped forward, their face now partially visible under the hat's brim, revealing a calm demeanor that contrasted sharply with the rising emotions around them. "I'm not here to take anything from you," they replied steadily. "I seek only to protect our history and gather what is rightfully yours." But doubt remained rampant among the crowd. "How can we trust you?" Tommy's father demanded. The tension thickened as residents voiced their fears and frustrations, each question fueling the fire of uncertainty. It was clear that more than answers were needed. Healing the rift in their hearts and minds would prove just as crucial as understanding the truth about the stranger. As the tension hung thick in the air, the stranger took a deep breath and stepped forward, their voice steady yet heartfelt. "I understand your fears," they began, glancing around at the anxious faces of the townsfolk. "But I've come to help, not to harm. I am a historian and a guardian of forgotten tales." The crowd fell silent, curiosity flickering in their eyes. "This town holds incredible stories and treasures that deserve to be shared with the world," the stranger continued. "But to do that, I need your assistance." They gestured toward the leather bag, which now seemed less ominous and more like a vessel of hope. "Inside are plans for a museum dedicated to Maplewood's rich history. I've seen too many towns lose their heritage, and I want to ensure yours is preserved." Slowly, understanding began to replace anger. "We can work together to uncover these stories," the stranger urged. "But we must first reclaim what was lost, together." The townsfolk exchanged glances, feeling the weight of doubt lift as possibility filled the square. This revelation transformed their confrontation into a chance for collaboration that could heal their community. As the realization of the stranger's true intentions settled over the townsfolk, a palpable shift occurred in their demeanor. No longer burdened by fear, they began to see the potential benefits of collaboration. "If this museum can showcase our history, we should support it," Tommy exclaimed, a spark of excitement illuminating his face. Encouraged by his enthusiasm, others chimed in with ideas about what artifacts and stories could be featured. "My grandmother has old letters documenting the town's founding," shouted Mrs. Carter, her earlier anger dissipating as she recognized the importance of preserving their heritage. The atmosphere transformed from one of confrontation to cooperation. The townsfolk expressed their willingness to contribute, even sharing stories of their own experiences and memories tied to Maplewood's past. The stranger listened intently, nodding appreciatively at their eagerness. Mayor Jenkins stepped forward, saying, "Let's form a committee to gather our town's history together." Nods and murmurs of agreement echoed through the crowd as hope blossomed anew. The community that had once been fractured now felt united in a common purpose: to reclaim their legacy and celebrate the richness of their shared stories, bound together by their newfound understanding. In the weeks that followed, the town of Maplewood blossomed with renewed energy as residents worked together to gather their history for the new museum. During this time, reflections on their earlier fears and suspicions led to important discussions about acceptance and trust. At a community gathering, Mayor Jenkins encouraged everyone to share their thoughts. "We learned that jumping to conclusions can lead to misunderstandings," he said, looking out at the crowd. "It's easy to let fear guide our choices, but it takes courage to seek the truth." Mrs. Carter stood up, her voice steady now. "I realize I let fear cloud my judgment," she admitted. "Instead of embracing the stranger's intentions, I let suspicion take hold." Others nodded in agreement, sharing how they had also misjudged the newcomer. As stories were shared and laughter filled the air, it became clear that Maplewood had grown stronger as a community through its challenges. They now understood that accepting others and fostering trust would help them thrive together. The lesson learned would remain with them long after the stranger had left, an enduring reminder of the power of unity amidst uncertainty. As preparations for the new museum reached their final stages, the townsfolk buzzed with excitement and anticipation. One bright morning, as everyone gathered in the town square to celebrate their hard work, the stranger appeared again, a smile gracing their face. It was clear they had come to say goodbye. Today is a beautiful reminder of what can happen when communities come together. The stranger began, their voice warm and reassuring. Your shared stories and efforts will inspire generations to come. Tommy stepped forward, clutching a small piece of art he'd made in honor of the new museum. Will you come back to visit? He asked hopefully. The stranger knelt down, meeting his eyes. I will always carry a part of Maplewood with me and cherish what we've built together. With heartfelt goodbyes exchanged, the townspeople watched as the stranger walked away, their figure gradually fading into the horizon. As they left, it was clear that their impact on Maplewood would linger long after their departure. A lasting reminder of acceptance, understanding, and the strength found in unity. The town felt different now, filled with hope and purpose for the future. As the dust settled after the stranger's departure, the town of Maplewood took a moment to reflect on their journey together. In the heart of the newly established museum, residents gathered to celebrate not just their history, but the transformative experience they had undergone as a community. Mayor Jenkins stood before them, his voice filled with pride. Today, we celebrate more than just artifacts. We honor our resilience, he declared, gesturing toward the displays now filled with treasured memories and stories. This museum represents our commitment to understanding one another and embracing those who come into our lives. The townsfolk shared laughter and stories, recounting how fear had turned into friendship and collaboration. Young Tommy beamed as he pointed out his artwork alongside historical pieces, a symbol of how each person's input contributed to their collective legacy. In that moment, the residents understood that true strength lies in unity and trust. The challenges they faced had forged deeper connections among them, reminding each individual of the power found in acceptance and cooperation. As Maplewood moved forward, its people carried with them the lessons learned, a beacon of hope for future generations.